Okay, so hello everyone, and welcome to our education session today on recognizing and reducing caregiver stress. My name is Shelby Berry, and with me today is Chris Van Leuven, and we are both education coordinators here at the Alzheimer's Society of Peterborough, Kawartha Lakes, Northumberland, and Haliburton. So we are excited to have the opportunity to bring this education topic to you today. I actually just learned this morning that today is National Caregiver Day. So we'd like to say that we planned this topic accordingly, but we actually didn't. So it's a bonus, it's a surprise that this is a very fitting topic for today and recognizing everything that caregivers do. So we recognize throughout our discussion today that there may be several questions that come up, but just in the interest of time, and because I'm not always able to see the chat pod, when either of us is speaking, we would like to ask you to hold your questions until the end of the presentation. So feel free to jot down any questions that you might have or to put those questions in the chat pod. And we will check that chat pod at the end of the presentation. So thank you so much in advance for your help with this. So let's get started with today's topic of recognizing and reducing caregiver stress and understanding the impact of this and things that we can do that might be helpful. So there's no doubt that caring for a person living with dementia can be challenging. It can be frustrating and it can be difficult at times, but it can also be rewarding as well. Solving problems and becoming confident in knowing how to give care can provide you with a great sense of satisfaction as well. We are learning more and more about how to provide good care for a person living with dementia each and every day, while also balancing, and recognizing that we still need to take care of ourselves as well as caregivers. Much of what we know comes from the experience of family and professional caregivers. So together, we are all learning how to deal with the challenges that this disease may present. So providing care for someone with dementia can take a tremendous toll on both the physical and the emotional health of the primary caregiver. Yet many caregivers often don't recognize those warning signs of stress or that's taking a toll on their health, or perhaps they may deny the effects that it is having on their health. Many caregivers tend to set their own needs aside while caring for the person with dementia and hope that, maybe if they don't think about it, the stress might just go away. So today we're really going to focus on what that might look like and what we could do. So understanding dementia and its progression is vital to ensure that both you and the person living with dementia can live as well as possible. The Alzheimer's Society has the resources to support you and your care for the person living with dementia. So here's what we know. As the disease progresses and there are more changes happening to the brain, the person's abilities will also continue to change. Memory becomes increasingly impaired, and the person may begin to lose short-term memory. As the brain continues to change, long-term memory will be impacted as well. The person will also experience changes in their ability to make judgments, problem solve, and to make decisions. The person will need assistance with daily tasks such as meal preparation or perhaps dressing at some point in time. The person will experience difficulty with communication, and behavioral changes may occur as the person's abilities to communicate do become impaired. So overall, the person living with dementia will continue to rely more and more on the support from caregivers and family members as the disease progresses. So this is where one's circle of support becomes really important, you know, as we talk about caregiver stress. So what is a circle of support? So for every one person living with dementia, it is estimated that another 5 to 10 people or individuals make up what we call their circle of support. So this may include the primary caregiver or care partner. So this is the person in this role essentially is most often a spouse, a child, an adult child of the person living with dementia, a sibling, or another family member. So they often provide that primary support. Secondary caregivers, this group often includes family members and friends. Individuals who provide support in a professional capacity, such as a family physician, a gerontologist, an occupational therapist or physiotherapist, social workers, long-term care staff, or volunteer agencies, such as community care, can be part of a circle of support. And additionally, support may also come from members of social clubs or the church community or neighbors as well. So they can also be considered to be part of one's circle of support. So Alzheimer's disease and other dementias have a deep impact, not only on those who are diagnosed, but also on the people who are closest to them. Family members have to take on different responsibilities when a relative is diagnosed with dementia. Sons and daughters of a parent with dementia may become caregivers, and husbands and wives of the person with dementia may see their roles change in the relationship. They often find themselves in that role of primary caregiver. Many in the role of primary care partner experience changes in their responsibilities, their roles, their relationships, their lifestyles, and changes in their emotions over the course of this dementia journey. So let's take a closer look at each of these. So a caregiver may experience increasing responsibilities while being that primary support for the person with dementia. So as the disease progresses, a person living with dementia may not be able to continue looking after the same household responsibilities and tasks that they used to do. Perhaps the person always looked after the family finances, and this task has now fallen to the responsibility of the primary caregiver. Making decisions about financial and legal matters may feel overwhelming for that person if that's something that wasn't really something that they did before. It could be very new to them and could be a big learning curve. Other examples of increasing responsibilities could be home and vehicle maintenance, scheduling doctor's appointments, grocery shopping, and meal preparation. Some of these other household tasks may now fall solely onto the primary caregiver. The primary caregiver may also experience changes, in their role. So there will likely come a time when the person living with dementia and the primary care partner determine the need to plan for the future and discuss who will make decisions, both financial and health related, for the person living with dementia when they're no longer capable of doing that for themselves. This may mean that the person works to create an advance directive or living will. It could also mean that the primary care partner takes on the role of power of attorney for property or for personal care, or as a substitute decision maker. A substitute decision maker is designated to make decisions about living arrangements, medical treatments, and finances. So the Alzheimer's Society does have resources available to help people in the early stages of dementia and their care partners to learn how to start this conversation when it comes to decision-making, respecting independence, and planning for the future. Caregivers have also reported changes in the relationship as they provide that support to the person living with dementia. So the dementia does not change a person's need for love and affection, but it can change many aspects of the relationship. So the changes to a person's memory, their ability to communicate, personality and mood changes may create feelings of a loss of connection. So you may lose the companionship and the emotional support of someone who has been close and important to you. You will likely need to find different ways to express your feelings. When one couple is diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease or related dementia, it can be hard for the partner to know what to do or how to act. So it's important to remember that couples also have a long history and really strong emotional bonds. And this plays a role in how they act and react to a partner who now has dementia. Another thing that caregivers have reported is increased social isolation. So when surveyed, 66% of care partners found the experience of caregiving to be isolating. Care partners of those living with dementia sometimes find their relationships with their friends and their family change. Members of your social circle may withdraw because of a lack of understanding or maybe feeling that they don't really know what to do or how to help. So you may need to be the one to reach out and connect with friends and family members. And this can be done in a lot of different ways. You know, you can call and talk to people individually. You could host, a get together with them, or you could write them email updates or, keeping them informed in some way as to what's going on and keeping that connection. So just remember, if you keep the lines of communication with your family and friends open, they will be able to understand more easily what you and your family member are going through, because a lot of people do wish that others understood that caregiving experience better. And the best way to do that is to share and stay connected with others. And this may also help you keep these, sources of support close to you and the person that you care for at a time when you need them most. The better they understand, the more willing they'll be to pitch in and to offer help and support. Caregivers have also referenced experiencing what we call ambiguous loss and grief. So care partners are likely to experience feelings of loss and grief over their family member's diagnosis and throughout the progression of the disease, especially as the person's abilities gradually change. Caregivers may also grieve the loss of their dreams and their expected plans for the future, the loss of a confidant and a partner, and the loss of shared roles and responsibilities, as well as the progressive losses in the life of the person living with dementia. So the ambiguous loss and grief that a caregiver may experience can make the caregiving experience even harder. And if that's a topic that's of interest to you, that is one of our virtual education sessions that we do have coming up in April as well. So when someone you care for is diagnosed with dementia, it can be an emotional experience for everyone involved. It can mean many changes within household dynamics, roles, and responsibilities. And these changes can be challenging to navigate and may lead to increased stress for care partners. So over the next couple of slides, we'll take a look at some of the common indicators of caregiver stress. And Chris is going to take us through some of those.
Thanks, Shelby. Yeah, so taking care of someone with dementia, it requires our time and it requires our energy. And it really can be a demanding task and it can create stress. So knowing and recognizing those signs of stress in yourself or in someone that you care about is really that first step towards taking action. If the following symptoms that we're going to go through are occurring on a regular basis, or if they're increasing, or if they're becoming more persistent, then we know it's time for us to reach out for some support. So perhaps calling the doctor, or you can even reach out to us here at the Alzheimer's Society for help. Because, if we're feeling those impacts of long-term stress, it can have a really negative effect on our overall health and on our overall well-being. So let's dive into this list. So the first sign that we have that somebody's experiencing caregiver stress is denial. And that denial can be about the disease, and it can be about the effect on the person with the disease. So we might hear the care partner saying things like, well, everyone's overreacting. I know that mom's going to get better. And really, this isn't an uncommon reaction, especially when the diagnosis is new. We may struggle to accept that diagnosis, and we may struggle to accept that uncertainty that can come along with that diagnosis as well. The second sign on our list here is anger. So that could be anger, feelings of anger towards the person with a dementia, feelings of anger towards ourselves, and feelings of anger towards others. You might hear the care partner expressing things like, if he asks me that question once more, I will scream. We often notice increased frustration and decreased patience when care partners are under stress, and that those feelings can come out as anger. The third sign here is withdrawing socially. So when you're feeling like you don't want to stay in touch with friends, or you don't really feel up to participating in those activities that you once enjoyed. You might hear the care partner saying things like, I don't care about getting together with friends anymore. And, you may notice that they're finding excuses, or if it's yourself, that you're making excuses to avoid social events and social get-togethers. Sign number 4 is anxiety. And that could be anxiety about facing another day. You could be feeling really worried about what the future holds and what's coming. You may hear yourself saying, I'm worried about what will happen when I can no longer provide care. And these feelings of anxiety can perpetuate that stress, leading the care partner to feel overwhelmed. Fifth on our list is depression. Those are feelings like sadness. You may feel hopeless. You might notice that you're feeling detached most of the time. You may say things like, I don't care anymore. What's wrong with me? And, depression, that feeling of apathy that goes along with depression, that loss of motivation, those are all also, perpetuating signs of stress. Next on our list, we have exhaustion. So you're noticing that you barely have the energy to complete your daily tasks. And you may say things like, I don't have the energy to do anything anymore. And going along with that exhaustion is number 7 on our list, which is sleeplessness. So you're finding that you wake up in the middle of the night, or you're having nightmares, or you're having a restless sleep and stressful dreams. You may say things like, oh, I rarely sleep through the night, and I don't feel refreshed in the morning anymore. Number 8 is emotional reactions. You're crying at minor upsets. You're often feeling irritable. You might say things like, I cried when there was no milk for my coffee this morning, and then I yelled at my son. So you're feeling that those emotions are running really close to the surface. Number 9 is a lack of concentration. So you're noticing that you have trouble focusing. You're having difficulty, sticking to a task or completing any type of complex task. You might say things like, I used to do the daily crossword. Now I'm lucky if I can solve half of it. So stress affects our ability to be able to attend to or keep concentration on something for a period of time. And last, we have number 10, which is health problems. You might notice that you either lose or gain weight. You might be getting sick more often with things like colds or the flu. You could develop a chronic health problem like backaches or high blood pressure. You might notice yourself saying things like, since the spring, I've either had a cold or the flu, and I just can't seem to shake them. So when we look back on this list, you might notice how some of these symptoms feed into others. For example, feelings of anxiety can lead to that sleeplessness, which can lead to exhaustion. However, in the heat of the moment, it can be hard to recognize any of these symptoms within ourselves. It's hard to pull out those things that we're feeling on our own. So we are going to take a look at a tool that can help us with this on the next slide. As Alzheimer's disease progresses and a person's abilities change, eventually, that full-time care is going to be needed. So the person's going to require help with their everyday activities, things like bathing, dressing, eating, and using the bathroom. And providing this type of daily support really can be exhausting for a care partner. When we consider how to best meet the needs of the person living with dementia, it's really important to think about what's best for the person while also evaluating the impact that caregiving is having on our own well-being as care partners. Experiencing a little bit of stress is part of our everyday life, but when those symptoms of stress persist, they can be harmful. So there's an important checklist from the Alzheimer's Journey at a Crossroads, which can help us to identify how stress is affecting our everyday life. So this checklist prompts us to put a check mark to indicate how often we're feeling or acknowledging those symptoms of stress. And you can find a downloadable copy of this checklist on the Alzheimer's Society website. We're going to take a moment now to go through that checklist though. And, I just encourage you that as you listen to check in with yourself to see if any of these stressors that are identified are resonating with you. So, do you have difficulty falling asleep? Do you wake in the middle of the night? Do you have stressful dreams? Have you gained or lost weight recently without intending to? Do you get sick more often than you used to? Are you experiencing those frequent colds or the flu that you just can't shake? Have you developed a chronic health problem like a backache, a headache, or high blood pressure? Do minor upsets make you cry? Do they make you angry or feel unusually agitated? Do you find it difficult to control your temper? Do you feel pressure to hold things together? Are you feeling hopeless at all about your situation? Have you given up any of your hobbies or any of your interests that you enjoy? Are you spending less time with others, like your friends and your close family? And is caregiving affecting your career if you're still working? If you answered sometimes or often to many of the questions in this checklist, you might need to seek some help to care for yourself. So even with the help of supporting services, providing care to a person living with dementia can still feel overwhelming. No matter how close you are to that person, you might want to consider involving other people in your caregiving role. So we can make arrangements to share those caregiving responsibilities, just in a way to allow yourself as the primary care partner to take some time for you. There's some other ways to reduce that stress that's felt by caregivers, and I'm going to turn it over to Shelby now to talk a bit more about some of those strategies.
Great, thank you, Chris. So now that we've had an opportunity to look at some of those 10 warning signs of caregiver stress and to reflect on some of those questions in the caregiver stress assessment tool, we're going to explore some ways to reduce caregiver stress, some things that we might be able to do or to kind of implement in our lives that might be helpful. So the first thing on our list here is to learn about the disease. So knowing as much as you can about the disease and some helpful strategies will help to prepare you for the dementia journey. So understanding how the disease affects the person will help you to comprehend and understand and adapt to changes that they are likely to experience throughout their progression. Second on our list here is to be realistic about the disease. So it's important, although difficult, to be realistic about the disease and how it will affect the person over time. But if you can be realistic, it will be easier for you to adjust your expectations as the needs and abilities of the person that you are supporting continue to change. Third, here we have another be realistic, but this time about yourself. So here, we recognize that you need to be realistic about how much you can do as a care provider. It is helpful to think about what you value most here. So it may be a walk with the person you're caring for. It may be time by yourself when you feel that you need that. Or it may be maintaining routines and housework if that is something that's really important to you. So there's no right answer. Only you know what matters most to you and how much you can do and take on. Fourth on our list here is to accept your feelings. So when caring for a person living with dementia, you will have many mixed feelings. So in the course of a single day, you may feel contented. You may have a moment where you feel angry or guilty, perhaps happy or sad or embarrassed or afraid or perhaps helpless. And these feelings may be confusing, but they are normal. They are certainly a normal part of the caregiving experience. So it is important to acknowledge them and to recognize that you are doing the best you can. We've touched on this a bit already, but one way to reduce caregiver stress is to share information and feelings with other people. So sharing information about the disease with family and friends will help them understand what is happening and better prepare them to provide help and support for you. It is also important to share your feelings as well. Find someone with whom you feel comfortable talking about your feelings. And this may be a close friend or family member. It may be someone here at the Alzheimer's Society, perhaps in a support group or a staff member. It could be a member of your religious community or perhaps a healthcare provider. So again, talking about the disease, talking about how you're feeling is really important as well. Some more strategies here. So be positive. So we recognize that this is one that may be a bit easier said than done, but your attitude can make a difference to the way that you feel. So try your best to look at the positive side of things and focusing on what the person can still do. So focusing on those remaining strengths as opposed to the abilities that have been lost. So sometimes this reframe can make things easier. Try your best to make every day count, and there will still be times that are special and rewarding. So we want to, recognize that and embrace those times. And again, try to look for joys in each day. Tying in with being positive is to look for humor in your days. So while dementia is serious and is often a difficult diagnosis, you may find certain situations have a bright side. So maintaining a sense of humor can be a great coping strategy. Laughter is really an important way to relieve stress and tension. So surround yourself with opportunities for laughter if you can. So this may be putting on a funny movie or a TV show that you know makes you laugh. It could be a joke of the day, or hanging out with that friend that has a great sense of humor. For those of you who have tried or attend our Minds in Motion program, that's a great example of a program that we offer that has a lot of laughter and humor incorporated into it for both those living with dementia who attend and their care partners. Number 8 on the list here is to take care of yourself. So recognizing here that your health is important, and please do not ignore that. Do your best to eat proper meals and to exercise regularly. Find ways to relax and try to get the rest that you need. Make regular appointments with your doctor for checkups. And you also need to take regular breaks from caregiving. Do not wait until you are too exhausted to plan for this. So if you were checking off a lot of sometimes and often on that assessment sheet, you know, that might be a sign that maybe finding a way to take a break for yourself might be important. So take time to maintain interests and hobbies if you can. Keep in touch with friends and family so you do not feel lonely and isolated, and you can stay connected with those that are important to you. These things will give you strength. You know, they will give you strength and help to fill your tank back up as you continue to provide care. Number 9 here on the list is to get help through support and through practical help. So you will need the support that comes from sharing, you know, those thoughts and feelings with other people. This could be individually, it could be with a professional, or as part of an Alzheimer's Society support group, for example. So choose the form of support with which you are most comfortable. And don't forget to accept practical help. So it can be hard to ask for and accept help from others, but it's very, very important. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness or inadequate caregiving. You cannot care for a person with dementia alone. You know, we want to recognize who's in that circle of support. We want to identify them, and we want to ask for that help where we can. So ask those family and friends for help. Most people will be willing to lend a hand and to assist you. There may also be programs in your community that offer assistance with household chores or caregiving tasks that might be helpful. So here at the Alzheimer's Society, we have resources that can certainly outline some of these services for you. And last here on our list is the plan for the future. So planning for the future can really help to relieve stress, you know, having those important conversations now. While the person with dementia is still capable, it's important to review, you know, your financial situation and to plan accordingly. Choices relating to future health and personal care decisions should be considered and should be recorded as well. Legal and estate planning should also be discussed. As well, think about an alternative caregiving plan in the event that you are unable to provide care in the future. So having a backup plan is always a wise idea. And we do have a workshop, it hasn't been advertised on this, but coming up in June, we do have an in-person workshop called Creating a Backup Plan. And this is the focus, you know. That whole idea of creating that plan in the event that you weren't able to provide that care and support. So as we've been talking about and mentioning, caring for someone with dementia can be a complex task. It can be frustrating, it can be confusing, and it can be emotionally and physically exhausting at times, though it does have its rewards and good times as well. Whether you're a family member, a volunteer, or paid caregiver, If you're the only one providing care, you may wish to get help at some time and to explore what options are available to you. So let's talk about 4 main sources of help that may be available to you. So here we have emotional help, relief and respite care, practical help, and community help. So we're going to take some time to explore each of these. So we touched on this briefly before, but let's talk further about the importance of seeking out and accepting emotional help. So you may feel you need the support that comes from sharing your thoughts and feelings with others. You know, some days you may feel you need that sympathetic ear, you know, someone who will listen and not judge. Other days you may feel that you need a safe space to vent, you know, to get out some of those emotions. Family and friends can help, or you may find it useful to talk to others who have lived experience or who have as a caregiver or who have worked with people living with dementia. So a support group can be a great space to talk with other caregivers who understand the disease and know what you're going through. And a lot of people that come to our support groups really share that they feel that they're not alone when they come to a group and talk with others. It gives you an opportunity to share your experiences, to get practical suggestions that can help you in your daily caregiving while letting you help others as well, because you might have some great ideas and provide great support to others as well. A support group can also help you manage stress and again, feel less isolated with being able to connect with others. So you're welcome to contact the Alzheimer's Society for more information on support groups that are available if this is something that you would be interested in trying. And we also want to recognize that not everyone is comfortable participating in a group. So sometimes talking one-on-one to someone who has gone through the experience of caring for a person with dementia is helpful. So again, we might talk with someone else who has that lived caregiver experience. So we find that peer support with another individual, and that can be really helpful. It can also be helpful to talk with trained professionals or counselors. So here at the Alzheimer's Society, you can find client support coordinators. Many of you probably already have a client support coordinator who can provide that counseling and support. If anyone on here does not know what a client support coordinator does here at the Alzheimer's Society, you can kind of view them as a dementia coach. So you have someone that you can call if you have questions, if you want to strategize, if you're looking for emotional support, if you have questions about resources that are available in the community or what your next step should be. Our team of client support coordinators are available to address those. You may also look for a social worker, you know, perhaps through a public health department or a healthcare or family service agency. Or your family doctor may also know of counseling resources that may be available to you in the community as well. So as we touched on earlier, another way to look after your emotional needs is through humor. So humor can work wonders in helping you cope with caregiving demands. Some days it will be possible to laugh, and other days, you know, it may not be, and that can be the reality of the situation. So look for the humor in day-to-day situations. Again, see that funny movie, laugh with friends, find other methods for bringing humor into your day. I had a caregiver say to me once, you know, she said, I really find having a sense of humor, even though, you know, it can be such a challenging disease. She said, a sense of humor is really important. She said, I find if I don't bend, I'm going to break. And she said, that's the way that for me personally, you know, I find that way to bend through humor. So to continue in your caregiving role, it is strongly recommended that you organize some type of respite care at some point. Perhaps this is, you know, finding that much needed break that you feel that you might need. It could be a chance to do something for yourself, maybe something that you haven't been able to do in a while, or just to get away from the demands placed on you by the caregiving role. So regular relief can help to rejuvenate your mind and your body by giving you a break, as well as providing you with practical support as well. So asking for help, as we've been talking about, can be a hard thing to do. Many caregivers say that they don't want to feel like they're imposing on others, or that, they feel that they're really the only one who can or should provide that care to the person with dementia. So they have a hard time of letting go of that idea of someone else helping as well. And the reality is that no one can provide this care alone all of the time. We really want to be open to accepting that help from others. Taking time for yourself, even if it's just for an hour or two, even less than that, finding those pockets of time for ourselves can help you to be a better caregiver when you return. So again, we want to view this as it's not selfish. It's an important thing to do to support your own health and well-being during this time. If you don't have family members or friends to give you a hand, you may be able to find a volunteer through your place of worship, or perhaps through a local community center or group that you're involved with. In-home respite programs bring trained individuals into your home to provide care. Depending on the program, the worker may be able to provide companionship, or perhaps they may assist with other activities of daily living, such as personal care, bathing, or dressing. They may be able to help with some of the housework and do some other tasks around the house as well. So again, we do have resources available that outline some of those services. So feel free to connect with us if you'd like some of those resources. Many communities like ours also have adult day programs. And so if you've been to our office, there's one day program site just across the other side of the mall from our office, and Peterborough also has another day program site as well. And in these, the person living with dementia can participate in a broad range of activities and have a chance to socialize with others as well. These programs usually include a meal and sometimes even transportation as well. And they may be available for half days or 1 to 5 full days a week. And here at the Alzheimer's Society, we also have a young onset day program. So a day program for those who had a diagnosis before the age of 65. And they do a lot of great programming out in the community together. And some long-term care homes also have respite beds. So caregivers in the community can get some more extended relief. So feel free, again, to check with us for more information about where you might find out more about these respite programs and options available in long-term care. So I'm going to turn it back over to Chris, and she's going to take us to the end of the presentation.
Thanks, Shelby. Yeah, so we're just gonna keep going on the train that Shelby had us going on here, and we're gonna look now at those sources of practical help. So to make caring for somebody living with dementia at home easier, we might find getting some help with those day-to-day activities and day-to-day household tasks can be helpful. So this can include, help with, personal care for the person living with dementia. It could be help with cleaning. It could be help with meals, help with just your everyday average household chores, or maybe help with taking the person to appointments if you need assistance, with that travel. One way to approach this is to start by making a list of all the tasks that need to be done. So, include personal care on that list, include things like shopping, yard work, transportation, housework, all of the things that you could use help with. You might be able to start by getting help from, people close to you, like your family members, your neighbors, or you could enlist the help of a volunteer or an agency. Some help could be available to you through a home care program in your area at lower cost. And you can reach out to us or to your client support coordinator here at the Alzheimer's Society for more information about the services that are available locally. Services that could help include, accessing a home care worker. So these are people that provide personal care help at home. So helping with eating and dressing and bathing, as Shelby had mentioned. And then they might also help with some light household tasks. Housekeeping services could be a good practical source of help for you. So these housekeeping services can include cleaning. You can also potentially find help with shopping, laundry, or meal preparation as well. You may have a need to access more skilled nursing services. So these are, trained professionals that can come in and provide assistance and more of a medical care within the home. Meals on Wheels, that's a great program offered predominantly through community care. And these programs offer home delivered meals to help provide a nutritious, well-balanced lunch or dinner. You could also reach out to volunteers to provide a volunteer visit or a friendly visit. So this could be a paid person or a volunteer person to come in and spend time with the person living with dementia, maybe provide an activity for them to do or do something that they enjoy. Maybe that's getting out for a walk. And lastly on the list, Shelby just mentioned, is our day programs or programs for seniors. And that's helpful because it provides a time for social interaction for the person living with dementia, as well as that respite time for the caregiver. And last on that list of sources of help is community help. So every community has agencies and services that can help you. But those services tend to vary depending on province or region that you're living in. You can find out what is available in your community from a number of different sources. So you can reach out to us and we have a good list. You can talk to your family doctor or your local health clinic or a social worker to provide you some list of community supports. The Peterborough Public Health or the public health agency in your area are both helpful places to access to figure out where you can go for what particular help that you need. You can reach out to community care. So certain organizations like community care, they often on their website will have a good list of what it is that they provide. And I know that the community care sites within our region provide a whole host of different services. So they are a really great place to start. And then lastly on our list is, the people close to you, your friends, your family, your neighbors, especially those friends that you have that have the experience of being a care partner. Those are great resources for you, great people to connect with. We're just going to touch on here some resources for people who are young, who have taken on the role as care partner. So caring for a person living with dementia when the care partner is a child, a teen, or a young adult, it really comes with its own unique challenges. So you might have less time to do those things that you enjoy that other people your age are doing. You may experience feelings of isolation from your friends. And you may have, extra pressure or extra stress brought on from your role as a care partner. And it's important for those young people to learn how to cope with the feelings that they're having. They may be experiencing sadness, they may be experiencing feelings of guilt, and they really need to know where they can go to access help as well. Up on the screen, you can see an image of the Support Matters, a guide for young carers and their allies, and that's a by us, for us guide for which there's a host of different topics, but this one is specific to young carers, and it's written by young carers, specifically for young carers. And it really examines factors that are important in the lives of young carers, so children, youth, and young adults who experience a shift in their family roles as a result of a family member's exceptional needs or their unique family situation. It suggests ways to manage and to cope with responsibilities and provides advice and guidance to adults and organizations on ways that they can better support young carers in their community. So that support matters document, if you know of anybody who is a young carer, it is available at a cost on the Bias for Us website, and but you can also download the PDF of that document for free. If you are not a care partner for someone living with dementia, but you know somebody who is, you might wonder what you can do to help support that person. And here are a few suggestions of things you can do to let the care partner in your life know that you're there for them. So the first tip here is to listen without judgment, because we could all use a sympathetic ear at times. You could offer to help with errands, or you could offer to do a porch drop of some essentials. You could learn more about dementia, because the more you know, the better equipped you'll be to help. Keeping in touch, even just like a short phone call or a Zoom call, can help a person who is a care partner to feel less isolated. With that, we want to continue to include the person with dementia. So we want to plan visits or outings with the enjoyment of everybody involved in mind. And lastly, offer to have a visit or a phone conversation with the person with dementia so that the caregiver can have a little bit of a break, maybe just to tackle something that they need to do. It's important to keep the lines of communication open with your friend or your family member who's a caregiver for someone living with dementia. Ask, the simple starting step is to ask what you can do to help. Your continued presence and knowledge of the situation will allow that care partner to feel more comfortable going to you when they need an extra hand, when they need additional support. So we just encourage you to continue to be a friend, because the care partner in your life is going to appreciate those thoughtful gestures more than you'll ever know likely. And lastly, as we come to a close on our presentation today, we just wanted to let you know that we understand and we recognize that living with and supporting someone who is living with dementia isn't easy. And we want you to know that you're not alone and that the Alzheimer's Society is here to help. So we have a range of supportive services designed to assist you in this journey. And on our slide, you can see our intake coordinator, Maddie, and she's your first point of contact with the Alzheimer's Society. So if you're not already connected with us, Maddie is your go-to person, and she can connect you with the right resources and the right person within our society to help to meet your needs. All right, I think at this point, I'm going to stop the recording here and we can open up the floor to questions.